The Battle of Moscow by me. So the powers involved were Nazi Germany and the Soviet Republic. Now you can now the Battle of Moscow is very important and was one of the most important battles in the war between the Axis powers and the Soviets because the Soviets were able to prevent the most serious attempt to capture their capital, and if the Soviets lost, then Soviet Russia would be no more. Now, it happened from September 30th, 1941 to April 20th, 1942. And now the terrain was actually very icy and like very cold. And the Germans had like the German equipment had a huge problem with that because like a lot of their armored vehicles and like their troops were not equipped for the Russian winter and Russian spring and weather, and about 1.4 million German people actually froze to death, not getting killed, but they actually got froze to death. Now, in further forms of battle were tank war.
Sorry, Frankie, can I ask you a question? So 1.4 million German soldiers were frozen to death?
About, yes.
Wow. Wow.
Okay, so the forms of battle used were tank warfare, which is like just people fighting in tanks, trench warfare, people digging holes in the ground and then like shooting people. Air raids is like planes going around cities and just dropping bombs on cities are just some of the few forms of battle. There were also like the occasional war crime, but we move. The end result of the battle was the end of Operation Barbarossa, which was Hitler's code name to the invasion like campaign. So they chose Operation Barbarossa because Frederick Barbarossa III was a Russian king, and yeah, it was just yeah, and it was also a Soviet counteroffense against the Germans, and it was also a turning point in the war for the Soviets. Now there were about 2.2 million people in the war, which is like more than like 1% of Ontario's population. About 1.5 million people, which is also more than 1% of the Ontario population. So
you mean 10%, right?
no, I said more than 1%
So
of
Soviet
Ontario's
Union,
population.
10%, right?
No, that
Ontario's
means
population is
anything more than 1%, I think.
More than.
more than.
So it can be 2, 3, 4, 5, anything.
Yeah, I mean like more than 1%.
Yeah, from like I
Like
don't know.
greater than.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Okay, so casualties for the Germans had about historians estimate 48,000 to 400,000, and Soviet deaths were 650,000 to 1.28 million people. Historians estimate, and as I said, many of Germans froze to death. And if you compare the deaths, like the amount of people, just German deaths, already more deaths than Richmond Hill's population in 2017.
Wow.
So what happened after? The Soviets led a very counter-offensive technique against the Germans using like the same blitzkrieg technique, I guess you could call it, that Germany used to invade. It was like just like encircling techniques. I'll show you. Like it was just, let's say this is like a plot of land. German troops would just come from here and encircle like a certain plot of troops, and it would like pressure, like it was a very effective techniques that the Germans used. And while Germany was getting attacked by Russia, the Allies were doing like the big Normandy beach invasion thing. So Germany was getting smooshed together from both sides. Hold on. Now its impact. The Soviets would have lost their country if they lost the Battle of Moscow. And next slide. I'm done. Thanks for listening.